All right, so a few of you guys have been wondering how the chiller systems that we've been using on our turbo kits work, and I've done a small video on it before, but I just wanted to go a little bit more in depth so you guys have a better understanding as to why we are using these and what they're actually doing on the car. This little heat exchanger here is gonna basically use the car's AC system to cool itself down, but at the same time, it's gonna allow us to run the water for our intercoolers through here, which also cools the water for the intercoolers down. The reason we cool down the intercoolers and the charge air entering the engine is because obviously with a hotter temperature, we're gonna have less, one, protection to knock, two, the air entering the cylinder, the colder it is gonna be denser and is gonna give us a better, cleaner combustion and just overall improve the efficiency of the turbo kit. So basically it's a gas to liquid heat exchanger, and through one side we're using the existing AC system on the car to use Freon and an expansion valve to create basically what is another evap. And then at the same time, instead of passing the air through there to come into the interior of the car, we're passing the water that we use for our air to water heat exchangers through there so that we can cool the water down more and more and more. Two different types of ways to run these systems. You can either install a chiller inline to your existing system just to help cool everything down more, or what I like to do is get rid of the heat exchangers, get rid of anything else that's, introducing heat or trying to dissipate heat out of the system, because this is gonna get extremely, extremely cold. An atmospheric air to water heat exchanger is gonna actually warm up a system like this more than if you were to run just a chiller and use it properly. The only downsides is, obviously with the AC compressor and everything, when you floor it, that shuts off. We're working on another system right now that doesn't use the factory AC cooling system, so that will always run. But basically what we're doing now is we're setting up the cars in a way where they'll have enough cold water to last a full entire run, whatever the car is being set up for, a half mile, quarter mile, roll racing, whatever it is. And that's pretty much how it works. So we have this heat exchanger here, getting the water extremely, extremely, extremely cold. And we have a reservoir in the car that stores that extremely cold water. And when you're doing a pull, our water pump is pumping that water through the intercoolers, and obviously the turbos are pumping the air through those intercoolers. In result, the air is getting really, 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 really cold, and the car is just running at peak efficiency. The install on these guys isn't too lengthy of a process. Obviously with some experience, we've gotten better at doing it. We've been able to do it quicker and quicker and quicker. And every car is a little bit different, so we just have to make the small adjustments that we need. Obviously going from a Lambo to a McLaren, the AC systems are ever so slightly different. What we're looking for is the high side and low side of the AC lines. We just got to make a T in the high side, and then we got to make a returning T in the low side. And also we need to put a separate valve in there so that we can shut off the interior AC separate from this and use this all the time. And that's pretty much it. You got your dryer, two T's, your switch, and you just got to run your lines, make sure they're plumbed the proper way, make sure you don't have a restriction on one side that you don't have on the other. You just need to make some small adjustments and tweaks when you're filling the AC system to make sure you have the right amount of Freon in there, and after that you're pretty much good to go. So for example, this is the 570S that we've been working on, and we are using the chiller on this kit just because it's such a great kit that we want to make sure that we have 100% the best hardware that we have in here. We've tested the chiller. We know that it's something we want to use on our best performing kits. So Chris Los has gone ahead and made a bracket and everything to mount the chiller in the back here. I will say that this is not 100% ideal because of the location of the exhaust. However, with a heat shield and proper insulation, we can keep the temperature of the chiller down and keep it still operating efficiently. As long as you have everything properly insulated, shielded off, and you minimize the heat transfer as much as possible, you're not going to be losing much cooling because it's staying so cold, it's staying so efficient that it's never heating up in the first place. This is an example of the lines that we built in-house. So we use all high quality AC hoses, all high quality fittings, and this is actually a very specifically crimped fitting so that it's in the proper grooves and does not leak. This has all been designed in a way where it actually seals better than the OEM crimp clamps that you see, and provides us with 100% leak-free install and clean install as well. All right, so basically one of our biggest challenges is finding places where something not only fits, looks good, and stays away from heat and still functions properly. Obviously we can go a little bit above it and turn the pump whichever way we want. But the problem is that once they get to a certain point above the water level and above the fitting that the water comes out of, the pump is no longer able to suck in the water hard enough. Excuse this pump, it is a mock-up pump. And obviously it's not able to suck up the water up past a certain point, to the point where, you know, we complete the cooling system. So we got to find a place where the pump not only sits low, stays away from heat, and is not going to be seen from the back of the car. You know, obviously when you're driving behind it, you don't want to see a wire and a water pump laying around. You want to see the exhaust, other parts of the car, not a water pump. So we got to find a place where the water pump is hidden, away from heat, and is able to get the water from the bottom of the tank up to the intercoolers where we need them to go. So I'll take like a picture of where it sits, and then I got to put the span back on to make sure everything will clear. And then Charlie can build a bracket for the water pump itself. Once we know everything clears, we can install everything. I'll have to install the line and everything, and then install the fan back on afterwards. So this is how we find out what needs to be taken off in order to install the kit. Last time you guys saw me working with this water pump and Charlie, we were trying to figure out where we can mount it, how high we can mount it, you know, what we need to do to get it to function the way we want it to function. And this bracket here is the result of a lot of testing and experiments and pulling it out, modifying it, putting it back in.
Tony talked about in a different episode that these tanks don't need ice, so we were able to tuck them up in some pretty hidden spots. So now we're doing the same thing with the water pump. This bracket was pretty straightforward to make. We just made a base plate that mounts to the pump, and then figured out where we wanted to mount it in the car, and essentially just stuck it up in there until it fit and tacked it, test fitted everything, and then welded it up. Now it's fixtured. We'll be able to make these the exact same way in the future. So the kit will be shippable. This will get powder coated after we're done test fitting everything. It's all clean, done, ready to go. I think the tanks turned out pretty good. I'm out of here, Tony.
So I had to pull the inner chiller a little bit forward on the McLaren so that I can get to all the fittings and tighten them up. This is the one that we use on our kits. It is the race large version. So it's, you know, got significantly higher cooling capacity and just overall larger, and doesn't heat up as fast, and just cools the water down a little bit more efficient than the other one, just simply because it can fit more water in it at the same time. Uses dash 12 fittings just like all of our tanks and intercoolers do, so we can still use the same uniform fittings that we use on our whole kit, and it just ties in a little bit better than the other inner chiller that I was using. So I pulled this forward, you guys can see it a little bit better, and I can tighten my fittings up, put it back in, charge the AC system, finish plumbing the cooling system. We got to make some oil and fuel lines, tie up a couple loose ends on the wires and vacuum, tighten down the manifold, make sure it's sealed. We'll smoke test and vacuum test everything before the car gets pulled off the lift. You know, make sure everything's good, and then it can go on the dyno so Alex can start tuning it. The comments on this video are gonna be disgusting. All right, so me and Franco, that's what I call blowing the fire sleeve on, because, you know, when you're trying to slip this stuff on, it's a little bit on the stiffer side and whatnot, so it doesn't really want to get around the angles or over the line the way you want it to, and it just grabs it. So put a little bit of air in there, it expands it, and the line slides right in. It's almost like you're blowing the sleeve onto the line, so that's why I say blow the fire sleeve on. But pretty much the reason why I did this is because looking at the turbo kit, you know, obviously I've already said that everything's super close to each other, and with that they transfer heat through each other, or, you know, exhaust will melt a line. So we put the fire sleeve on here because this has a much higher resistance to heat than the rubber that's on the line. So it's got a little bit of fiberglass and rubber on the outside. It's very, very, very good at resisting heat. So it'll help keep the temperature of the line itself down so that the coolant isn't heating up as it's traveling through the line, and it's still staying icy since we've cooled it down so much with the chiller. And since these are out, I can show you guys. When I say this kit is symmetrical, I'm not joking. These are both exactly 22.5 inches long, driver and passenger side. So everything on this kit literally is mirrored. That's gonna wrap up this cooling system and our video for you guys. If you guys wanted to know a little bit more about the chiller system and our cooling systems on our turbo kits, we went ahead and made this little in-depth video for you guys. If you guys want to see more stuff like this, or you want to know, you know, how an oil change is done on a Ferrari, how a turbo kit is installed on a Lamborghini, how a turbo is replaced on a McLaren, engine replacements, stuff like that. Let us know what you guys want to see. We're always looking in the comments for new videos, and we want to know what you guys want to see so we can produce it for you guys. Don't forget to like this video because it helps us out. Subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss another video. And yeah, let us know anything in the comments. We'll always be going through them looking for new ideas for you guys. Have a great day.
Rumor has it all of our fabrication's done in-house.
That's just a rumor, though.
Yeah,
Can't confirm.
I could not confirm that for you, though.